Book of Heaven, Volume 4. The 3rd of September to the 30th of October 1902. Page 137 to 141. September 3, 1902. Everything that Jesus deserved in his life he gave to all creatures, and in a special and superabundant way to one who is victim for love of him. This morning, as I was in my usual state, I felt a natural malady come to me, but so strong, that I felt I was dying. I feared I might be about to pass from time to eternity. Much more so, since blessed Jesus was hardly coming, or at the most, like a shadow. In fact, if he were coming as usual, I would not be fearing at all. Therefore, so that I might be in a good position, I prayed the Lord to give me the exercise of his holy mind to satisfy for the evils I might have committed with my thoughts, his eyes, his mouth, his hands, feet, heart, and all of his most sacred body, to satisfy for all the evils I might have committed, and for all the good I was supposed to do, but did not. While I was doing this, blessed Jesus came, all in festal clothing, in the act of receiving me into his arms, and he told me, "My daughter, everything I deserved I gave to all creatures, and in a special and superabundant way to one who is victim for love of me. Behold, anything you want I give you, and not only you, but to whomever you want." And I, remembering the confessor, said to him, "Lord, if you take me, I pray you to content Father." And indeed he has received some recompense for the charity he has done for you, and since he has cooperated, as you come to me into the sphere of eternity, I will give him yet more recompense. My malady was getting more and more vigorous, but I felt happy since I was at the harbor of eternity. In the meantime the confessor came and called me to obedience. I would have wanted to keep everything quiet, but he forced me to say everything, and came out with the usual refrain that, out of obedience, I was not supposed to die. But in spite of this, my malady would not cease. September 4, 1902. The confessor asks Jesus not to let her die. As I continued to feel ill, I also felt a certain restlessness because of this strange obedience, as if I could not take flight toward my highest and only good. With the addition that, having to celebrate Holy Mass, the confessor did not want to give me communion because of the continuous retching that bothered me. However, since the confessor had told me that out of obedience I should have Jesus Christ touch my stomach, as he came, he touched my stomach and the continuous retching ceased. But the malady would not cease, and Jesus, seeing me so restless, told me, "My daughter, what are you doing? Don't you know that if death surprises you, finding you restless, you would have to get purgatory? In fact, if your mind is not united with mine, if your will is not one with mine, if your desires are not my same desires, by necessity you need a purge to be transformed completely in me. Therefore, be attentive, think only of remaining united with me, and I will think of the rest." Now, while he was saying this, I saw the church and the Pope, and part of it was leaning on my shoulders, and I also saw the confessor who pressed Jesus not to take me for now. And the blessed Lord said, "Evils are most grave, and sins are about to reach such a point as no longer to deserve victim souls, that is, the ones who sustain and protect the world before me. If this point touches justice, indeed I will take her with me." So I understood that things are conditional. September 5, 1902. Jesus, the angels and the saints incite Luisa to go with them. The confessor is opposed. I continued to feel ill, and the confessor continued to be resolute, even more, to get upset because I was not obeying him with regard to not dying, and to praying the Lord to make my suffering cease. On the other hand, I felt incited by blessed Jesus, by the saints and by the angels to go with them, and I would find myself now with Jesus, now with the celestial citizens. In this state I felt tortured, not knowing, myself, what to do. However, I was calm, fearing that if he should take me, I might not be ready to go speedily with him, so I abandoned myself completely in his hands. Now, while I was in this position, I saw the confessor and others praying that I would not be allowed to die, and Jesus told me, "My daughter, I feel I am under a violence. Don't you see how they do not want me to take you? And I too feel I am under a violence. Truly they would deserve a penalty for putting a poor creature in this torture. And Jesus, what penalty do you want me to give them?" And I, not knowing what to say before that inexhaustible fount of charity, said, "My sweet Lord, since sanctity brings sacrifice with itself, make them saints, so that, if nothing else, they will obtain their intent of keeping me with them, and I will obtain the intent of seeing them saints, as they would have the patience to feel the pain which sanctity brings with itself." On hearing me, Jesus was all pleased, and he kissed me, telling me, "Brava, my beloved, you were able to choose the optimum, for their good and for my glory. So, for now we must surrender, and I reserve for myself another occasion to take you quickly, giving them no time to do violence to us." Then Jesus disappeared, and I found myself inside myself, with my suffering mitigated for the most part, and with new vigor, as if I was born again. But God alone knows the pain, the torment of my heart. I hope at least that He may want to accept the hardness of this sacrifice. September 10, 1902. The Prerogatives of Love. I thought that blessed Jesus had come back according to the usual way, but what was not my disillusion when, after deciding that He was not going to take me for now, He began to make me struggle for seeing Him, and most of the times, like shadow and flash. Then, this morning, as I was feeling very tired and exhausted in my strengths for the continuous longing and waiting, it seemed He came, and transporting me outside of myself, He told me, "My daughter, if you are tired, come to my heart, drink, and you will be refreshed." So I drew near that divine heart, and I drank in large gulps a milk mixed with a most sweet blood. After this, He told me, "The prerogatives of love are three: constant love without end, strong love, and love of God and neighbor bound together. If these prerogatives do not appear in the soul, one can say that hers is not the quality of true love." October 22, 1902. Threats against Italy. This morning my adorable Jesus came for a few instants, all indignant, and he said to me, "When Italy has drunk the most fetid filth to the bottom, to the point of being drowned, so much so, that they will say, 'She is dead, she is dead. Then will she rise again?'" Then, becoming more calm, he added, "My daughter, when I want something from my creatures, I infuse in them the natural dispositions in such a way as to change their very nature into wanting what I want. Therefore, remain calm in the state you are in." Having said this, he disappeared, and I was left concerned about what he told me. October 30, 1902. Jesus Christ came to join God and man once again. This morning, as I was in a sea of worries and of tears because of the total abandonment of my highest good, while feeling consumed by the pain, I felt my mind being estranged, and I saw blessed Jesus sustaining my forehead with his hand, and something like a light which contained many words of truths inside. I can barely remember this, that is, when our humanity untied the bond of obedience which God had placed between himself and the creature, a bond which, alone, united God and man, it became dispersed, and Jesus Christ, taking on human nature and making himself our head, came to reunite the dispersed humanity, and with his obedience to the volition of the Father, he came to join God and man once again. But this indissoluble union is strengthened further according to our obedience to the divine volition. After this, I no longer saw my dear Jesus, and that light withdrew together with him.